The Southern Poverty Law Center is now at the center of what could become one of the most revealing scandals in modern political activism. According to a federal indictment announced on April 21st, 2026, SPLC was charged with wire fraud, false statements to a federally insured bank, and conspiracy to commit concealment money laundering. The Justice Department says that between 2014 and 2023, the organization, quote, secretly funneled more than $3 million in donated funds to individuals associated with extremist groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nations, Unite the Right, and others. Prosecutors also allege the SPLC used fictitious entities and bank accounts to disguise those payments. Now, we are responsible and fair on this program, and we want to say this clearly: an indictment is not a conviction, and these are allegations only at this point. And the SPLC says the accusations are false. Its CEO, Brian Fair, has argued that the organization used paid informants to gather intelligence on violent groups and that the work, quote, saved lives. Even legal experts quoted in the coverage of the case say proving criminal intent against a corporate entity could be difficult. But even with that caution in place, this story is explosive. Because if the government's case is true, then one of the most famous political activist organizations in America was not merely monitoring extremism, it was allegedly subsidizing it, it was concealing it, and fundraising off of public fear while privately paying figures inside the very world it publicly condemned. As Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche put it, quote, the SPLC is manufacturing racism to justify its existence, end quote. That's a staggering allegation. And that gets to the deeper issue that I want to discuss here, because this is not only about the SPLC. This is about how we Americans are being manipulated every day. We're being conditioned to live on raw reaction, secondhand outrage, and emotionally loaded headlines with almost no patience for facts, process, or nuance. Outrage has become a business model. That's why when you watch the news, it ticks you off. That's on purpose. You're supposed to be mad. You're supposed to leave those hateful comments in the comment section. That's the game. And I believe that's the real bombshell that's under this bombshell. Because outrage is no longer just a political byproduct. Outrage is the product, and you are the vessel. Outrage is packaged. It's branded. It is monetized and sold. It drives fundraising emails. It drives cable news segments. It drives clicks, shares, donations, subscriptions, and voting patterns. And too many political organizations and media outlets have learned that an uninformed, emotionally triggered public is much easier to steer than an informed and disciplined one. That's the manipulation machine. Keep people agitated. Keep them afraid. Keep them tribal. Manufacture crises. Keep them rushing to judgment. Make sure they hate each other. Manufacture that hate if you have to. If these allegations are true against the SPLC, what a dangerous tinderbox they were playing with. Keep the people too emotionally exhausted to ask careful and honest questions like, who benefits from this? Who's getting the profit, not just financially, but maybe socially or politically? What are the facts here? What's been proven and what is merely alleged? And what has been hidden behind moral grandstanding? Here's the ugly truth. Some institutions do not survive by solving problems. They survive by sustaining the perception of crisis. If the fear dries up, the money dries up. If the outrage cools off, the influence cools off. If the public starts thinking instead of reacting, well, their magic spell starts breaking. That's why the story matters far beyond one organization, because if the allegations hold, then donors were told one story and their money allegedly did another. According to the DOJ, donors believed they were supporting a fight against violent extremism, while prosecutors say some of those funds were diverted to benefit individuals and groups the SPLC claimed to oppose. Acting U.S. Attorney Kevin Davidson said that kind of alleged deception, quote, undermines public trust and social cohesion, end quote. And he's right about that. It certainly does. Now, I'm a man of faith. I'm a Christian. I believe any Christian within the sound of my voice should especially pay a very close attention here, because Scripture warns us repeatedly about manipulation through appearance, through passion and false righteousness. Isaiah 5 and verse 20 says, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil." Proverbs 18:17 says, "The one who states his case first seems right until the other comes and examines him." And Ephesians 4 warns believers not to be tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine and human cunning. In plain English, don't be easily played. Do not hand your conscience over to professional narrators. Do not confuse branding with truth, and don't assume that the loudest moral accuser is the most moral person in the room. It's one of the oldest tricks in fallen human history. Accuse loudly enough, brand aggressively enough, posture righteously enough, and many people will stop examining you altogether. They'll just take what you say as gospel. And politically speaking, conservatives need to learn from this too, because this is not just a left-wing temptation. The right runs the same racket. And yeah, the names change, the political bias changes, the logos change, the slogans change, but the temptation is the same. Turn outrage into a revenue stream, turn fear into influence, and turn your audience into an emotional herd who will line up and faithfully vote for you every 2 and 4 years. When outrage becomes an industry, truth becomes overhead. If someone's business depends on keeping you angry, they're not informing you, they are farming you. Because the manipulated people will mistake adrenaline for discernment every single time. And that's why this story should slow all of us down. The AP reports the government alleges more than $3 million went to informants through a now defunct program to infiltrate hate groups, while the SPLC says the payments were a necessary part of intelligence work. The Guardian notes experts are divided on whether the prosecution can prove fraud, especially corporate intent. So yes, the legal case still has to play out, but the public lesson is already here. Emotional narratives can hide very uncomfortable realities. I want to wrap up with this real quick. America is drowning in curated indignation. We are encouraged to react before we read, to rage before we verify, and to condemn before we investigate, and to donate before we think. That's not citizenship, that is conditioning. The question is not only whether the SPLC broke the law, the question is how many institutions across this country, left, right, and 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, have built empires on emotionally managing the public. How many headlines are really just sales pitches? How many moral crusades are really just funding mechanisms? How many quote-unquote emergencies are just business plans with better branding? A nation that cannot tell the difference between truth and emotional theater will eventually be ruled by whoever stages the best performance. And Christians, above all people, are called to resist that performance, because we do not belong to the cult of outrage. We do not bow to the God of reaction. We are called to love. We are called to truth. We are called to test the spirits and judge rightly and refuse manipulation, because once a people can be trained to run on pure emotion, they can be led almost anywhere. And too many in America already are. Well, I want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Again, try to keep it civil as best you can. Be respectful of people. But thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. Remember, you can find our full episodes of Culture Crossroads on the BEKTV.Plus. That is BEKTV.Plus every Sunday evening at 5 p.m. Central Time. And we're also on demand there as well at BEKTV.Plus. Remember, please, to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more daily doses. And as always, thank you for watching.